Hello and welcome to the Blab Flirting with Social Hour, I'm going to say, but sometimes they do go a little longer. Today my guest is the very, very talented graphic designer, Katie Price, and we're going over creating templates for your social media graphics. She's got some great things lined up for you. Why should you have templates? Where can you find some of those graphic design images? Being careful with your copyright things. Yeah, it's just going to be a really packed show. And so I'm going to hand it over to Katie and let her go ahead and get started. And if you have any question, be sure to ask it in the right-hand column. We do monitor that, and we'll do our best to answer real time, and we'll open up the seats for questions as we go along. So Katie, come on.
Hi. Well, hi, April. Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be on my first Blab. I've been periscoping for, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks now, and it's been so much fun to meet new people. And I think that this Blab outlet is awesome, and it's given me a chance to practice my template making abilities even more. So when April approached me about talking to you guys, I thought a perfect combination would be, how do you make templates for your social media, across the board, like Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of these places. And I guess I've got an outline of stuff to share with you guys, but I'm so happy to answer questions as we go. So feel free to interrupt me as we go. I think the first thing I wanted to talk about was just well, why do you even need templates, right? And I don't know what you think, April, but I hate reinventing the wheel. That is just it.
And my previous life before I was a social media trainer is I was an organizing expert. I always say I'm a recovering retired organizing expert, but templates are a godsend because if you can do that, initial layout and the all the hard work up front, and then just always have a copy and paste kind of mode as you move forward, it saves you so much time later on.
Yes, it totally does. I have actually created for myself 1 or 2 templates per social media network that I like to post to. And then I just go in and populate the content whenever I'm ready. So I'm not reinventing the wheel every time, even though I do change out the title of the post and probably an image in the background. So there are 4 things that I think you should do to make these templates easily recognizable. And those 4 things are, you want to, on your template, you're going to want to have your logo on there. So that's what makes it a template, right? We've got certain elements that are always going to be the same, and then we have certain elements that will change out each time. So those elements that are always going to be the same are your logo, and you can either do your full color logo or you can do a watermark version of your logo. And a watermark version of a logo is just your logo in black or white where it is semi-transparent. Does that make sense, April?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So you'll want your logo on the template, and we'll talk about sizing and all of these logistical things in a few minutes, but just kind of like the main ideas of what makes a template are. You want to have your logo on there. You want to use consistent brand colors. So hopefully you guys have created a style guide for your brand. And if not, now's a good time to start thinking through things like what colors you use for your brand consistently. So you're going to want to use the same set of colors, and it doesn't have to be the same colors on every single image that you make, but have a set of, I would say, no more than 4 colors that you use consistently for your brand. And that's just going to help your brand be more easily recognized. When people are looking through Pinterest, they would even be able just to say, oh, those 2 colors, that version of magenta and that version of gold, I know that that is Flirting with Social Media's colors, your signature colors. So you want to get your brand colors together, and then your brand fonts. And this one, not exactly a pet peeve of mine, but it's something I think that people don't think about. I know that there's so many fun fonts out there in the world, and people have a tendency to change their fonts with every single graphic that they put out. And I just think that if you were to stick to 2 or 3 main fonts for your brand, it would just help so much with the consistency and the whole idea of just being recognizable. right?
Yeah, definitely. And I saw Robin asked a great question. Let me get back over there. She said, do you have a post somewhere about creating a color guide for your brand? And she said, oh, I'm a font addict and tend to change them based on feel of content.
Yes, yes. I know it's so easy and it's so fun to choose lots of fonts. But I think it's a great idea just to pick like your signature fonts. And really what you want is one serif font, so a font like Times New Roman or something along those lines. One sans serif font, so an easily readable font. And those are fonts like Verdana or Trebuchet. And then you want one display font. So that's like your fun font.
Yeah,
Either,
yeah, definitely.
Big and bold or calligraphy or handwritten or something like that. And that's what I would say. And no, I don't have a resource on creating a style guide yet. I did a webinar on it, but I haven't packaged that up yet. So stay tuned.
Yeah, definitely. And so the question already is coming in, and I said I would cover this part of it is, so my biz president said those apps like Canva and WordSwag make it very tempting to use different fonts all the time. I absolutely agree. But, you know, retain yourself when it comes to your logo, you know, have that, you know, I guess the biggest thing I'll say from an organizing standpoint, because I did specialize in a few things like ADHD. And one of the things I learned with that was working with students, they have a hard time when there's too much text. And so, you know, bullet things out, make it easy to see. And so the same idea, I would say, comes in when you are doing your logo and you're doing, you know, your presence in the written word is you want to stick to something that's clean and easy to read. So like Katie's saying, you know, pick the sans serif you said of the fonts. I think those are the ones that are going to be like in the body of things, right? That are easy to read. They're easy on the eyes, things like that. And then Gracie Ruth asked, do you create your templates on Photoshop or Canva? And so I'll address the Canva. Canva has made everybody who is a non-designer, you know, capable of going in and creating a social media image, and they have everything preset for you. I did ask Katie about that, and you know, I would say that a true graphic designer probably doesn't know a lot about Canva because they have all the skill sets that Canva has made easy for the rest of us. But I will say the images that she created for us to, or the graphics for us to promote this show, are beautiful, and they're way beyond anything I would have been able to do in Canva. So do you want to talk about where you actually create your templates?
Sure. So I create mine in Photoshop, like April's saying, just because I have that skill set for Photoshop. But I do think that you don't need to hire a designer for every social media graphic that you're going to make. And so it is important to learn a tool like Canva if you're not quite ready to learn Photoshop. And I think, speaking to the designers out there, I think it could be a really great service that you could offer to your customers if you were to create a template in Canva for your customers to use. So if you were to make that initial template and offer this like as an add-on service to your web design services or something like that, I think that your customers would really appreciate it. Like, April, how would you like to have a designer custom design you a Canva template? Would that work for you instead of?
Yeah, because honestly, what it would be is to say, okay, Katie, here's what I need. Can you go in and create this so that I can go into my Canva account and manipulate it based on an event I'm doing or something like that? Mm-hmm. So my templates are pre-done, and that I am definitely, you know, valuing your service, because I think that's the other thing that's very difficult when it comes to the intangible services that we offer, mm-hmm. both in social media and graphic design, is, you know, I want to value the time and the education that you have when you make the template for me. So I might pay you to, you know, create those templates so that I can go in and customize them when I have time, or I can hand it off to an assistant and just say, oh, here is the font that you're going to use. Go put this information over the overlay of it, or, you know, whatever it is that we're deciding to do. So yeah, I think I would actually use that.
Yeah, I think it's great because you can set the font, set the colors, set the background in Canva similarly to Photoshop. And then, you know, then the blog owner or business owner can just go in and replace the text. So they'll replace the sample text with the text, and it'll already be in the right font and color. And I think that's something that designers can start offering for their clients. But just if you are a do-it-yourself blogger or business owner, this is something you can do for yourself too. Use Canva and make yourself that template so that at least there's consistency there, right?
Yeah, definitely. And we do have some questions. So I'm going to have Taylor jump in with some links for us here. So one of the questions was for us non-designers, is there a place to go to figure out which ones go together? I think they're talking about maybe colors and fonts. I actually went, so Katie, you can tell me if you have others, but recently I was introduced to the color.adobe.com. And that is your color picker. And what's really nice is you can go in and you can say, okay, I know that I really like this blue. And then there's a couple of different ways you can utilize that site. And they have where you can put the color in, and then it shows you along the color wheel, basically, what colors go with that. Yeah. So you can create your standard colors. And then I know that you have in here the Sprout social media image size guides. So let's see, I have our little question thing up over here.
There's another good one called the Font Combinator.
Okay.
And I think it's Font Dash Combinator, but if you were to Google it, that is a tool that lets you look at the Google web fonts. So if you're looking for free, yes, Robin, that's right. So if you're looking for free commercial use OK fonts, and if you are a blog or business owner that is making money from your website, you do need to be using commercial use OK fonts and images on your site. So if you are making any money on your site at all, even like 27 cents a week, you need to be using commercial use OK fonts and graphics. And Google Web Fonts, and you can just Google Web Fonts, there are hundreds of fonts out there offered by Google that you can download and use. So this Font Combinator, this is a roundabout way of getting there. I'm just trying to give you guys some background information. But the Font Combinator lets you set 2 or 3 different fonts and see what they look like together. So you can start to decide which fonts you want to pair together. And so, like I was saying, I would go with one serif font, one sans serif font, and the Google Web Fonts are divided into these categories. So you can select serif fonts and just look at those, and select sans serif and just look at those. So you want to select one of each of those, and then one, what we call a display font. And a display font is a handwritten font or a script font or calligraphy font, something like that, that you use sparingly for your brand. So in your logo, maybe in your post titles, on your graphics, those kinds of things.
Perfect. Okay, so yeah. I think that did cover the string of those questions around the font. And okay, and then Love Treadmill is asking, can you show some sample templates? So did any of those links that we have have any examples?
Well, what I found was a couple of Pinterest boards where you can look at these Pinterest graphics and you can see, if you visualize, you can see the template behind these graphics. So a good example here is by Regina, and it's pinterest.com/byreginatv. And if you look at her Pinterest posts, you can see that she is working off of a template because there's a consistency there. It's the same fonts, the same colors, and then she uses a similar style of image or stock photo in the background each time. And you can begin to see that that her logo is in the same place on all of these posts, that the fonts are always the same size, and those kind of elements start to come together, and you can really see these templates happening.
Yeah, and I love By Regina. I have recently discovered her, and I think that I have my very first internet girl crush. I mean, it is a little embarrassing. I mean, I follow anything that she does, and I absolutely love listening to her and seeing what she puts out and her little workbook. She's just so fun. So
I know she's been like tearing it up recently with all of her free workshops. It's byregina.com, and she has free workshops. She has paid workshops, and the content that you get from these is just unbelievable. I've taken some of her courses, and I actually work as a course moderator for her. So I'm in there as like her graphic design specialist. I'm helping people out with their, WordPress or template questions as her courses go on. So,
that's so
definitely
awesome.
Check out By Regina.
Yeah, she's fun. So the next topic that we had in the in our lineup here is tools for creation and proper sizing, which I know we kind of talked about tools for creation, but I'm curious about proper sizing, because that is, if you're not using something like Canva, which I will, absolutely boost them. They have it all preset for you. But there's a lot of resources out there if you want to kind of get away from Canva. Or, the other thing too with Canva is you can find some really great images, and then you might have to pay a couple dollars, which I think is a brilliant model, because for me, it's kind of a one-stop shop. I know that the images that they provide are, safe because I'm paying for rights to it. They also, in Canva, if you create an image, let's say I did like a Twitter banner, and I used a template that they have like things that come where it's laid out is recommendations. And so you could just say, oh, I really like that. I'm just going to change what it says, maybe change the wording. And then they might have some images in there that you're paying royalties for to use, and it's each image is $1, but you could get up to, a couple of dollars if there's a few images overlaid. However, I can only, within that payment, I can only change that within the first 24 hours, or I have to pay again. Again, I know that that's a really good deal because I know how expensive some stock photos can be. However, I get frustrated if I've paid for something I created and all I want to do is maybe change the date on it, or change, the location if I'm doing an event or things like that. So can we talk a little bit about sizing if I wanted to step away from templates on Canva and I wanted to create something a little bit more unique?
Sure. Well, before we get there, I would say that you can also purchase other stock photography from other sites on the internet, and then you can upload those images to Canva and still use Canva as your home base for creating social media images. So, there's always that option, and we'll talk about stock photos here in a little bit, but I would definitely say you don't have to move away from Canva if that's your only concern. But for those of you who are ready to use something like Photoshop or Pixlr or GIMP or something like that, there's a whole guide that Sprout Social put out that I think Taylor's going to share the link to, that they've promised to keep this updated all the time with the current proper sizes. So I found that Facebook or Twitter or one of the companies is going to change their sizes, every few months. So it's important to continually look at the size of your templates and make sure that they're up to date. You'll notice really quickly, though, if they're not. You'll see on Facebook that the bottom of your graphic is cut off or something. But
definitely. And that's actually something that Robin was asking, is I'm finding there are a lot of old posts and pins that give standard sizes of images for different networks that are no longer correct. Where do we find the latest information on sizing? So Sprout Social, it sounds like, is the place to go for that. And for those of you that are not in social media management or consulting or anything like that, for you graphic designers, Sprout Social is the resource that's coming from. They specialize in basically social media management. And so it's a very reputable resource to be going back and forth to. That's actually who I use for clients when I'm doing a lot of monitoring, reputation management, and then when I want to get my insights and things like that. So they are so deeply seated into the social media world that I would, it's no brainer to me. As soon as I saw her link say Sprout Social, I was like, of course they would have that. But for those of you that aren't interested with them, they're a very trustworthy source.
Oh, thanks for sharing that. Since I just manage myself, I haven't looked too in depth into social media management in that sense yet.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I love them. So, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and push us along, because it sounds like we've covered the proper sizing, the tools for creation. I love that you gave us the 4 key aspects. That was awesome. And so, the other big question as we move through this is, where do you get those stock photos? And I know that there's a lot of resources out there that are free. And you kind of touched on this, be careful with the copyright things are on that. But there's also, I think there's a lot of stock photo resources out there that are reasonably priced, because I think back in the first days of the internet, it was still traditional media. And so it was kind of these stock photos where, enterprise level pricing is what you paid for one photo to use, and you kind of were married to it because you invested so much money in it.
Yeah, so like the iStock photo of the internet is, I think, what you're talking about there. Yeah. Let's just touch on really quick, what is a commercial use graphic. Because copyright licensing can be so confusing, because you can type into Google picture of sunflower and up will come, 700 images of sunflowers, and they don't have watermarks on them. They don't say don't download or anything like that. But the truth of the matter is that just because you find it in Google, it does not mean that you can put it on your blog or use it on social media, unfortunately. Google is just a database of images that are on the internet, and that definitely doesn't mean that you can use them in your sites. So I just want to reiterate that it's a really good idea to always check. And if you don't have a license for an image or font, then don't use it. Now, I posted a blog post today all about stock photos, and I, in my 4 years here as a graphic designer, have come across some really great sites and some really not so great sites. And I have a list of about 25 different commercial use, okay, so it's very clear that you are allowed to use these images in your blog posts and social media posts for free without attribution. So I have a list of 25 great sites that you can trust and use. And so I think Taylor will share the link to that blog post. And these are sites like Death to Stock Photo, if you've heard of that one. Or Gratisography, Unsplash. And these are sites that are using modern images, not your typical like stock images with a white background and a man in a blue business suit. These are like young and hip image sources. And usually there are upcoming photographers who are releasing their rights to these photos as they're practicing and learning. And so you can trust these sites to use these photos. And that's why they're there. And I've also got a list of several styled stock resources. And styled stock is a new fad in photography. And what that is if you've seen images on Pinterest or on blog posts where it looks like the camera is looking straight down onto a desktop or a tabletop. Usually there's flowers and macaroons and a gold stapler, maybe a pretty pen. They're called styled stock images, and they're gorgeous and beautiful. And there's been a whole movement recently started by Shay Cochran, and other photographers are kind of picking up on this. And these images are awesome for blog posts and for social media, because the photographers will leave these negative spaces in their images where you can then use Canva or Photoshop to overlay the title of your blog post right in there. So I love those. And I've got a couple of styled stock resources listed where if you subscribe to their newsletter, they'll send you, a couple downloads of styled stock for free, and they'll release free styled stock once a month. So get on those newsletters and just start collecting those free commercial use okay images, because you never know when you might need one in the future. So there's also places like Creative Market, where if you're ready to let's say you're launching a course and you need a really like reliable image for all of your branding for your course, I would probably go to Creative Market and pick a styled stock image from there. And the costs, they range between maybe $5 and $15 for an image, but it's a really great way to get a high quality image, do it yourself, overlay the text yourself, but look more professional, look like you had somebody else design it. And there's quite a few artists on Creative Market that I would recommend. I've used Kate Maxwell before, Rosemary Watson, Color Studio, White Heart Design. These are all different photographers who are making gorgeous images for your blogs right now.
So do you have a blog post where you've done a collective of designers that you recommend on Creative Market? Because I just discovered Creative Market, I think maybe a week or two ago, and it seems to me someone had mentioned it to me a long time ago. And then I was looking for something very specific and came across it again. And I love that what they do is gather, I think there was maybe 6, actually maybe you were the one that was sent me there from that group. So they gather like 6 different, featured ones, and then they're free for the week. Yes. And so I was able to collect, some really great graphics just off of what was free. And then of course I ended up going in and spending a little bit of money, because I was like, oh, wow, I've been looking for that kind of a graphic, and now I know that it's safe to use.
Yes.
So do you have a collection?
No, I've got some of the art, the photographers listed in the stock photo post.
Okay.
But then if you just go to creativemarket.com, across the top, there's a banner that says free this week, or there's a link that says free this week. And you can sign up for their newsletter to get notified of the free resources. But I have collected some amazing things from there, like gorgeous handwritten fonts, various image packets, various like vector, like icon packets, that sort of thing, background, textures. Creative Market is an awesome resource.
Yes, definitely.
Kind of stuff.
And I wanted to just highlight really quick, Robin had mentioned I keep folders of free stock photos that I collect as they are offered by different places. Now I just need to tag them better. Robin, I did tell you what I used to do, right? Like we could kind of maybe connect and help you with that. Hee hee. Okay. So I love it. She's giving me all kinds of props.
Yes. So what I do is I have a folder and it's called CUOK stock photography, because I separate all of my fonts and all of my images into commercial use okay and not commercial use okay, so that you never have to question if it's okay to use. So if you purchase something, then you put it in a folder that, you know, says that it's okay to use. And this might be a little advanced, but
I think it helps with structuring how you're going to collect your graphics though. So if you are, you know, creating templates, and if you are trying to kind of venture into that, it's a good, you know, idea to have it structured in a way that you can remember without having to have it, you know, written out for you, or having to go and search, oh, how was I able to, you know, use that when I collected it? Brian McFarlane has said, check out Startup Stock for free. Are you familiar with that one?
Yeah, that's a great one. And they've got a lot of like technology related images. So hands-on keyboards, coffee cups next to a laptop, that kind of thing.
Okay.
That one is a great one. Yeah, that one's in the list. I saw a good question pop up on the site here, and it was about attribution. So my biz presence is asking if attribution is required, how do you handle it so it doesn't take away from your look or brand?
Good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. So my personal opinion is that if attribution is required, I'm not going to use the image on my site, because I think that it muddles the quality of the graphic itself if you were to put the attribution on the graphic. Because I just want my logo to be on that graphic, not somebody else's logo to be on there. And if you were to put the attribution in the blog post that was connected to the image is going to be shared on social media and isn't going to be directly connected to that attribution mark. And that's a questionable gray area to me. So if I'm making a Twitter graphic and I attribute the photo on my blog for the graphic that I use in that Twitter promotion, it's not in the same place, and that falls into that gray area category for me. And so unless you were to talk to the person who owned that photograph or graphic and see if it's okay with them, I would probably not go that route. So I would find those totally free, okay to use graphics or purchase ones. I know that's probably not the answer people want to hear.
No, I think that it's a really, really good answer. And I'm sorry, I was trying to bounce someone out that was starting to spam us, and realized that I think I bounced a few people out in the beginning because I was playing. Here's the thing with Blab. I'm just going to deter a minute from our topic. It's such a new platform and it's in major beta. And so we are finding new things every day when we come on. And so there's a little triangle with a exclamation point in it, and apparently when you click on that, I think I kick you out. So I apologize to anybody that was bounced out that comes back in and watches the recording. It's just the nature of this channel. And they also have changed a few things up there that I'm playing with, so sorry for my distraction. But let's get back to the questions. I love that you addressed attribution, and I think I would also look at, so I may have templates created for my logo and for the events that I'm doing and things like that. Mm-hmm. But if let's say I create, I have a client who's going to write a blog post, and she really needs an image, and she's actually in Ecuador right now. and she can't necessarily go out and take that image, but she needs it for just the blog post. When you do that, I've seen a lot of attribution where they actually overlay maybe the Flickr handle of the person that they, they'll put like the Flickr logo in their handle, or say Flickr / whatever. Is that a good way to do an attribution when it's not directly related to your branding?
So it would be just an image used inside of the post, not to promote the post?
Correct.
Okay, and then she puts the attribution directly on the photo. I think that's awesome, and I think that the creator of the photo or the photographer would really appreciate that, just in case, because we know that when we embed a photograph in a post, it's still pinnable, usually. Yes. So I think that that is totally acceptable and would be great. I would not put your logo. Well, I probably wouldn't put your logo on there also, just the attribution mark, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So I'm glad that we figured that out. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to look at some of our questions that we've had so far here.
Sure.
Have you discussed Canva for work with everyone yet? Brian was asking about that, and we did address Canva. We didn't talk about it for work. And I know that, I don't know how familiar you are with it, Katie, but I know that when they rolled out Canva for work, basically right now it's free to use for personal and business use. You pay for the photography or the graphics as you go. The Canva for work was basically you can go in and you can upload all of the, your colors and your fonts and things like that. And so you are creating those templates. And then I've only looked at it when they first rolled it out. It was like $9.95 a month, and it was based towards, PR agencies or, I guess a corporation, people that are going to be doing a mass scale of, templated items. So they need to be able to say, all right, I created this one graphic and now I need it to be adjusted into, for Instagram, and then for Twitter, and then for Facebook. And all they have, my understanding, because I haven't been on the back end of it yet, that they allow you to just do it by a click. So it automatically resizes stuff for you, and that's what you're paying for. So that's as familiar as I am with Canva for work. And Katie, have you looked at that at all?
I'm not too familiar with it, just because I don't want to pay for it if I don't need it. But that's awesome. I would say as a workaround, if you weren't ready to invest in it, you can just create an image in your regular Canva account, one for each size, one for Pinterest, one for Instagram, and then use those images as your templates. So then just save as, or make a copy of it each time and replace the text, or the blog post title and maybe the background image each time. So I'm not sure what the advantage is for the Canva for work, but it sounds like it does all that automatically for you. So you don't have to adjust 4 separate social media images. So you just do it once and then it, woohoo, and everything is back.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And isn't that like, oh gosh, I am glad that they thought of that. That's so great. If I were in your shoes and I was creating something for, a client, so this might be how they're pulling in their graphic designers, is to say, hey, $10 a month, you can come in and all of the, designs that you create, you can bring in, and then you just click one button and it makes all those different images for you. So I would see where it would save a graphic designer a lot of time. Whereas for me, just the average entrepreneur that might be doing a few things for, social media clients, or, mostly doing my own stuff, it doesn't make sense for me to pay for it for that way, because I'm not doing it in such a robust manner. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I mean, if you're somebody who posts 5 times a week and wants, a unique graphic for Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, and Facebook for each post, like 4 times 5, there's 20 graphics that you have to go in and edit. So you then, at that point, it might be worth your time for whatever it is a month. I'm not sure what the monthly cost is right now.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure Robin could speak to something like that. And I'm trying to keep an eye on what's going on over in the right-hand side. I know Taylor is, it's $9 per user. Thank you, Brian. So for those of you that joined us late, my assistant Taylor is viciously over there pulling your questions and putting them into a spreadsheet for us to see. So I'm going to go ahead and unlock the room. And if you have a question, like to jump on camera, I think that we've covered most of the topics that Katie had laid out for the show, and we would love to do some Q&A. I will tell you it's going to be a rapid round of Q&A, so we'll get you in, have you ask your question, and probably bounce you out and bring another person into the queue while she answers. So go ahead and unlock, and anybody that wants to come in, you'll just hit that join plus to come in and see it. And Robin, can you jump in real quick and talk about, bloggers need to understand that paying for services that make work easier actually makes it easier for you to make money as you save. So here's my history with Robin. Is I've known her for several years through the blogging world, and that's why I said I think she would absolutely understand and appreciate the idea behind Canva for Work. Paying to have the ability to just click, because the bloggers are creating a lot of their own graphics, and to be able to promote whatever it is, whether it's a campaign or if it's a specific post or things like that. So Robin, do you want to jump in and talk to that for a minute?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that people need to realize that if you're doing blogging or whatever to make money at it, you're putting in a lot of time and effort, and that time and effort you do is worth money. And the longer it takes you to do something, the less money you're going to make in the long run, because you're using up that much time to do those things. And so when you find services that you really like, and most of them have free trials and things now, try them out. And if you find you're using them a lot in that free trial, then go ahead and sign up for the paid version of it. And you can easily cancel if you decide you're not using it. But it is worth it to spend money. And, people say you have to spend money to make money. And it kind of can be really true. I know that so many of us started out blogging years ago, and we wanted we had to do things for ourselves. Everything was a DIY. We learned from each other because that was the nature of things back then. But if you've progressed then as a blogger, and this is your job in social media, then you really need to take advantage of services that are out there and hire people when you need to and pay for services when you need to. It's worth the investment.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. All right, so I'm going to bounce you out, Robin. And Eileen, if you want to jump in, I saw you had a question. Brian, what kind of question can we answer for you today? Welcome.
It's more of a statement about Canva at Work. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a social media manager, and I do a lot of content writing, and I have to generate a lot of posts, and I have to do a lot of work in different social profiles. Canva saves me approximately 40 hours a week on my workload. So my boss is very happy with that, and my clients are very happy because I pass those savings on to my client. And $9 to me as an investment, Canva at Work, to be able to put your entire branding profile into Canva and be able to just simply upload your images and have, with one click of the mouse, have it go out to every single profile that you have set up in one shot. I mean, I was just like totally in love with that. As soon as they announced it, I was just chomping at the bit, waiting for Canva at Work to come out of beta so that I could buy it and use it. But luckily I got in early with beta, and I was able to be a beta pig and just take full advantage of it. And I won't stop talking about it, because I know that everybody here, this is what your discussion's about, is making people productive with their templating, and Canva at Work is just a no-brainer.
Well, now you make me want to try it out. Now I think that maybe I will jump on that 30-day or 2-week free trial and see, just for my my side blog designer guidebook, just to see if it increases.
I went from working 14 hours a day, and now I work 5 hours a day because of Canva at Work.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so
and I don't work for the company, so I'm just in awe. And I don't use Photoshop. I've dropped Photoshop. I used to use Photoshop all the time, and Canva's just knocked it out of the water.
Okay, so awesome. Diana Richardson had asked, Brian, how does Canva save you that much time? So Diana, can you let us know if that answered your question? Because I think you kind of went through it there. And if anybody else wants to jump in, okay, she says yes. If anybody else wants to jump in, I noticed that there was another URL that was recommended here. Eileen, I think, mentioned it, and she can't jump on because she doesn't have a webcam with her right now. Which I would love to have her on, because Eileen just cracks me up. She's one of my favorite blabbers to watch and jump in with when I can. So they said relaythat.com. Are you familiar with that one?
I'm not.
Anybody familiar with Relay that wants to jump in and explain it to us? Robin says, Eileen, we need to get you a webcam.
I think it sounds like Canva might be the winning solution for a lot of the people in here. Yeah.
Okay, so My Biz Presence. Do you want to jump in? She says Relay that is new and it looks cool. Karen Clark. Yes, love treadmill. I did try kicking out Next Stop TV. So for the people that are going to watch the recording of this, we have a troll going on, and so we're trying to address some of those technical issues that are going on in the background there. Okay, so if we don't have any other questions to answer, then we can go ahead and is there anything else that you wanted to add, Katie, that we haven't covered? Anything that we've missed or forgotten?
I would just remind people that when you're creating your templates, you want to put your logo on there in the same spot every time. You want to use consistent brand colors. You want to use consistent brand fonts. And then you want to use a consistent style of imagery. So if you're going to use all styled stock photos, then use styled stock photos. If you're going to use photos of nature or the outdoors, then stick with that brand or that line of imagery as you go. And it's going to help your brand become more recognizable. And it's going to save you time because you can just collect a bunch of images at once and then just pick from your folder for what best matches your post. So stop reinventing the wheel and start using templates.
Absolutely. And so I'm assuming that this is someone that's new. It's Zatiago. Chill out and adore whiskey. I love that tagline. Had said they can't wait for the recording because they have learned so much already. Oh, wow. So I think that that's, it's just a attribute to how talented you are, Katie, and how much information. And this was such a great idea to come on. And, I'm sorry, it was Healthy Alt 411 that had said that. So yeah, and I have created a Twitter list that is going to be anybody who was on this show. It's called Blab Fans.
Cool.
And then I have a second Twitter list that is Blab Buddies, I think.
Okay.
And so if you're looking for people on Blab, the Blab Buddies are people that I was in a Blab with and I really liked, what they had to say. And they're people that I kind of wanted to stay tracking around and kind of get to know them. And then the Blab Fans are anybody who was in a show that I hosted. So if you wanted to go back in and kind of look at the people that have come in to get social media training and kind of create groups that way as well. And I can go ahead and why don't I create a Twitter list from today's that will just be the people who subscribed or joined, so that everybody that's in here can kind of follow around. And then Katie can also, be at the head of that. So you could be following her tweets as well and finding her as she moves across the web and as she now moves into Blab. And if you have additional, thank you, Robin, for posting that link. If you have additional questions about graphic design and things like that, be sure to reach out to Katie Price. And you can also, maybe if we have enough additional questions, we'll do a second show and talk more about graphic design. I think this was a lot of fun. And I hope everybody... Oh, thank you, Eileen. I hope everybody learned a lot from this. I know I did. And I do love going back and watching the recording because I can pause it and I can maybe go try something, or I can take the notes, or, I have my little Post-it notes that are kind of around my computer maybe,
Mm-hmm. I feel like I learned a lot too, just about Canva. And I just got some really good ideas on maybe services that I could offer for my clients as well, just to help people out. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the recording. Bear with me here for just a second as I do that. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Creating templates is always a passion of mine because I love to save money and streamline things. But then when you get into social media graphics and you have the best practices are there for you, and the links to staying updated and things like that. And for those of you that are watching the recording, if we don't have the ability to have the chat in our archives, which we don't now, but it may be coming, we will try and put the link in. But it was Sprout Social is the one that posted it, so you might be able to go to their blog and be able to search and just look for social media dimensions, maybe. I'm not quite sure. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and end our recording and thank everybody for coming. But we're